Hello, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I know we still have a few people joining, but I did want to get started because we have, as always, a little bit of material to cover. So just want to thank everybody for joining this second Doing More with DocShifter session. Usually I say greetings from London. Actually, I'm currently now in Edinburgh. So greetings from Edinburgh. A little bit cooler here, but it all is okay. Yeah, as I say, we've kind of started these sessions up to kind of explain to obviously our customers only, just because obviously you typically are aware of what DocShifter can do, you're aware of how it's configured. So obviously these sessions make sense to you. It's not intended as an initial training session. You should normally have some idea of how DocShifter works. Otherwise, this is going to be a little confusing for you. But for existing customers, obviously, this is nice to kind of explain a little bit more what you might be able to do with DocShifter that you're not currently. So that's the aim of this. This is the second session, and really this one's focused on how you can fix PDFs using DocShifter. So you may be using other tools to do that today, and you may be using DocShifter a little bit as well, but you may be able to use DocShifter a little bit more rather than some plugins and other tools you may be using for your PDF content preparation where you're fixing PDFs. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on in this session a little bit. Just so very quickly, just to introduce a little bit what we're talking about here, kind of looking at what we can automate in terms of that PDF content preparation. I'll explain some examples of what can be done and then show you in the live product kind of the settings needed in the workflows for how you can accomplish those kind of specific examples. Obviously, I'm not going to show everything that's possible. I'm going to take some scenarios, and obviously you can extrapolate from there for your own specific use cases. And obviously we'll wrap up at the end. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat. I can't actually see it while I'm presenting, so I will kind of probably ask the questions, kind of refer back to the questions at the end if we have time. But please do use the chat if you want to ask anything. We'll get to them here, or I'll reply afterwards if need be. Just before we kind of start going through, just to explain that we are actually attending a number of events in the coming weeks, months. Next week, Gert is going to be having a conversation with Lee Sandwell from Pfizer, specifically about how you can plan to implement eCTD 4.0. A lot of this is about learnings that Lee had working with Pfizer on their eCTD 4.0 pilot. So some real life kind of experience there and some learnings from him. So that is next week on July the, on July the 10th. So actually in a few weeks time, apologies. I thought that was sooner than that. I'm actually then speaking at the Lorenz Converge event, which is September 30th to October the 1st. That's in the US in Denver, Colorado. So I'll be speaking at the event there on how DocShifter can kind of streamline some processes where you're using DocuBridge as your publishing tool. And we have our European user group meeting for Enov in Paris. We already had the US one about a month or so ago. We have the European event in the middle of October. And then Gert and I will be back at the IA RSIDM in February, as every year, in North Bethesda in Washington, basically. So look forward to hopefully seeing you at some of those events as well. Just to sort of look quickly through the introduction, and I think you should see a poll question pop up here as well while I go through, just looking at sort of different ways in which you may be preparing your PDF content. So obviously in terms of creating it, you may use different tools, obviously DocShifter predominantly since you're all customers. So you're likely using DocShifter to create your PDFs, but you may be using other tools as well as part of your document management system, or just directly from tools like Office, kind of creating that initial PDF. But often those PDFs are then manipulated in Acrobat, Toolbox, Acrobat plugins, for example, as well, to kind of manipulate and prepare the PDF for inclusion in a submission and to be shared with the health authority. So really what we're trying to do in this session is show how you might be able to use DocShifter more if you prepare that PDF content beyond just the creation of the PDF, also how you could use it to fix PDFs and actually prepare them further for inclusion in the submission, especially maybe where the PDF wasn't generated by DocShifter itself. Otherwise, you could have just done everything with DocShifter in the first place. So we'll have a look at that here as we go through. And again, I'm not going to be in PowerPoint for long. It's just the first 10 minutes or so, and then the rest of the session I'll be in the live product. So don't worry, it's not a session full of slides. Where we find a lot of our customers are actually spending their time in preparing the PDFs. It's things like that you're all familiar with, bookmarking. There's some bookmarks that are easy to kind of extract out and create. Others that you're needing to add manually or using plugins and tools, or just one by one in Acrobat or in batch in various other tools as well. But either way, it's not always automatic, and they need some tweaking, for example, as well. So there's quite a lot of time lost in bookmarking, things like hyperlinking, adding hyperlinks, and ensuring they're all correctly created with inherit zoom, etc., set, the correct color, and so on. On top of that, kind of ensuring that your fonts are embedded correctly and accurately. All fonts used in the content in the PDFs are actually embedded appropriately, and that tables of contents where necessary are included, and so on. As well as that, obviously, things like your PDF viewing preferences. So when you open the PDF up, what are the options you want? What do you want to see to begin with? What's that initial view going to be? There are some requirements for those as well, and often they're not set correctly, so they need to be tweaked a little bit. Things like adding tables of figures, not just table of contents, table of figures, table of tables, etc. as well, and ensuring that your PDFs are optimized according to guidance as well. So just some examples of what people are spending a lot of time actually fixing, and many of those you can kind of fix if you have a PDF already. People often think of putting content through DocShifter that's not in PDF yet. It's Word or Excel or whatever it may be. But you can also send PDFs directly to DocShifter workflows as well to kind of fix a lot of elements, whether it's adding additional bookmarks or fixing the way hyperlinks present themselves or adding tables of contents. All of these things can be done automatically through DocShifter as well. So I'll show you some scenarios there. So just looking at what can be automated, so it's going to be a little bit like we just saw before. So there's a lot of elements. Many of these you'll already be familiar with because you're all using DocShifter, predominantly using the Hi-Fi module to create compliant PDFs. And in there are settings already for bookmarking, but I'm going to talk about some other ways that you can bookmark here today as well, beyond just how you can create them through Hi-Fi, pulling out styles of text from your Word content. I'm going to look at a little bit how you could add bookmarks to PDFs where the PDF maybe doesn't have bookmarks. Maybe you received the PDF externally and it had no bookmarks for some reason, and you have no access to the original source document. That's what we're going to look at here, is kind of taking those scenarios where you have no bookmarks or you have bookmarks missing, streamlining that process, being able to kind of add additional hyperlinks, not just set the properties of the hyperlinks as you do in Hi-Fi, also be able to automatically generate some hyperlinks as well, kind of convert text into hyperlinks seamlessly. Ensuring your fonts are embedded the right way, adding TLCs, TLTs, TOFs, adding headers and footers to content, adding pagination. You can do that, apply watermarks on the content, merge multiple documents together, split them up, ensure the file's optimized correctly, it's the correct PDF version, you don't have any empty pages, your initial view settings are correct, images are inserted in the correct format, compressed in the right way or uncompressed as may be the case. You OCR where necessary. And also there's something, that you can automate in terms of the QC of the PDF. So all of those checks you make PDF by PDF to make sure that PDF is ready to be included in the submission. Now, different companies have different ways of doing that, whether it's simple tracking sheets saying these are the 20 things you should check about a PDF before you include it in the submission. You literally go through PDF by PDF, making sure that you don't have any broken links or broken bookmarks, and inherit zoom is set on everything, all those things that you may need to check. You can automate that checking through DocShifter as well. So you can run a whole series of QC checks automatically to kind of quality check / validate the PDF itself. So we're going to look at this a little bit as we go through. And obviously in terms of automating, the first thing is really trying to automate the identification of issues. So it's one thing obviously fixing them. The first thing often is finding out, well, what's wrong with the PDF in the first place. So typically if you processed it with DocShifter and you've set the options appropriately, there shouldn't be many of these issues anyway, because they should have all been set correctly at the point that the rendition was created. But obviously there's a lot of other processes that come in and content coming from externally, etc. as well, where you may have some issues that have crept in. So it's important to be able to identify issues and identify issues as early as possible. So rather than identifying that you've got an issue with your PDFs when you're putting your submission together and you do a draft publish and then you validate with the submission validator your submission, the entire submission, and then you realize that you've got some individual PDF issues, that's very late on in the process to start adjusting things when you could have done that much earlier. So I'll kind of show you how realistically with DocShifter you could use the QCing tool, the validation tool, to validate the PDFs very early on, to identify issues and begin resolving them even before you begin putting the submission together is the idea. So we have a module, sort of an add-on with DocShifter called the PDF validator, and that allows you to validate the content or QC the content from any repository that you have. So it's just a part of another step in the workflow, like anything else, like Hi-Fi or anything. And it allows you to check for issues with the PDF, with the PDF version, the bookmarks, the hyperlinks, the fonts, the initial view settings. All of those things can be QC'd automatically. So rather than having to go through and bookmark by bookmark, hyperlink by hyperlink, check that everything's set correctly, you can just run it automatically and get a report that tells you what exactly is wrong with that PDF file. And it can either report on it, and if there are any issues, you can tell DocShifter to automatically then process that PDF file to fix the issues itself. Because many issues with PDFs can be resolved simply by reprocessing the document, sending it through a workflow with a Hi-Fi, for example, step that sets many of the parameters that may not have been used when the PDF was created in the first place. So it is possible to report and fix the output as well. So what you'll get at the end is either a report or potentially a report, and then it picks off, sends off a request. So again, as I said, I don't want to spend all the time in PowerPoint. So just want to talk through a few examples that I'll then show you how the workflows would look in DocShifter, and then kind of show you in the tool processing a sample document so you can see exactly what takes place when I kind of run that type of workflow. And obviously you would need to tweak this for your own scenarios, and you could always, of course, reach out if you want help doing that. So looking at some of the examples, the ones I'm going to focus on from that list are really some issues with bookmarks, hyperlinks, the font embedding, tables of contents, optimizing the initial view, some image settings, the QCing, and the PDF version. So those are some things I'm going to just cherry pick. I can't cover everything, but those are just some examples for you. So what that means is I'm going to kind of run 5 different scenarios. One, just going to show you in DocShifter how you can identify issues to begin with. So rather than just having to process the document, how do I just identify and QC the file to see what's actually wrong with it? That's the first scenario that I'll go through. Then I'll look at, okay, how do you then reprocess the document or re-render the PDF to fix those issues that maybe were identified? And I'll show you kind of generally how you can fix like everything that's possible. Then I'll show you a little bit more selectively how you could just do 1 or 2 things. For example, you might just want to optimize the PDF. You don't want to do everything that Hi-Fi can do. You just want to optimize the PDF for fast web view. That's it. I'll show you how you could do that separately, so you're not having to go through a lengthier process of reprocessing through Hi-Fi. And all you need to do is optimize for fast web view, nothing else. So I kind of talk about a couple of scenarios there in re-rendering, because re-rendering is basically the fixing of the PDF. I'll then show you some additional scenarios where you can add bookmarks or clean the PDF. So where you've got bookmarks missing from the PDF itself and you have no access to the source document to kind of reprocess it and pull the bookmarks automatically, we'll look at how you can bookmark from the PDF itself as well. And also how you can clean the PDF up a little bit. So you may have a PDF, you may for some reason have some text, empty pages, or places where you've got guidance text remaining that you want to clean up and remove from the PDF. I'll show you how you can do that as well. Same thing with hyperlinking. Obviously, you may have various tools already to hyperlink in your source documents through your publishing tool. It's also possible to add some hyperlinks automatically to the source document, whether that's Word or PDF, and that automatically create links from one place in the document to the other. So I'll show you how you can use DocShifter to do that as well. And it can save a huge amount of time for certain types of hyperlinks. It can be very valuable. Then I kind of show you a little bit. Initially, they're more separated. I'll show you like a combination. kind of workflow at the end. It does multiple things. It's going to reprocess the document to fix many elements, and it's going to clean out empty pages and paragraphs that aren't necessary, and it's going to add a TOC. So I'll show you how you can add multiple things all in one go. So those are the scenarios I will cover. And with that, I will try to stay out of PowerPoint and just jump into the product instead. So with that, what I'm going to do, just talk you through the first scenario, which is identifying issues. So you may have some PDFs that have various issues in them. And if I take one example, I've got Acrobat open here with a sample, just a dummy kind of template document. But the document will show quite a few examples of issues that can remain in the PDF. So I've added a lot of issues. You're not likely to have all of these, I would hope, but you may have, a subset of them. So the first thing is quite visible is that you've got some red links in here, red text. These are actually hyperlinks that are set with the wrong color, so they're red. So that's the first thing, that's not correct. On top of that, if I edit the link object and go to the actions, you'll see this is not using inherit zoom as the zoom level. This is using fit to page, which is not what's supposed to be what's in the requirements, the ICH requirements for your hyperlinks. So that should all be inherit zoom. Same thing for all of these here. There's multiple hyperlinks that are red. I also have a link to a website in here that's I shouldn't have. This is actually a link to a website, which I really don't want. I have some issues in here. I have some, images. I have some text that may be guidance text, for example, as well, that really probably shouldn't be here. My bookmarks are open up to 3 different levels, so I can see down maybe more levels than I want. I might want to clean these up so that when I open the PDF, it should only open to level 1 or level 2. So I might have a problem there. On top of that, my bookmarks themselves, they also have a zoom level set, and all of these are incorrect as well. These are all set to fit page. And as I said, if I go through any of these, they will all say the same thing, fit page. So a few visual issues here directly. On top of that, in my properties, I may also have some descriptive, some parameters, some properties here for the PDF that I don't want to keep, I don't want to preserve. So I've got, titles and authors, and I may want to strip these out completely or use consistent titles, authors, subjects across the board rather than what was left in the original document. In this case, you can see Fast Web View is not enabled, and this is PDF version 1.6, which may not be what you want. You may want 1.7. If I go to my fonts, I can see all the fonts that are used in the document. However, you'll see that none of these have been embedded. So it hasn't embedded any fonts here at all. It's using them, it's telling me what fonts are in the document, but it's showing me that they're not embedded in the PDF. So if the reviewer doesn't have those fonts, they wouldn't be able to view it correctly. It would obviously show incorrectly. On top of that, my initial view isn't correct. My page layout here is set to single page. This should be default. So these are kind of all in the requirements, the ICH requirements. So these are things that you should have set for compliance. So just showing you some examples of what is wrong. And this is kind of a document I'm going to use just to show you how you could fix things in a few different ways. So with that, what I'm going to do is just walk you through first just my validation report, which is going to show me what's wrong with the document itself, with the PDF, for example. So I'm going to show you using DocShifter Express. So I think most people on the call have DocShifter Express already. But basically, this is the simple web UI that allows you to send files to be through the web interface. I'm going to show you there rather than showing you in Documentum or Viva or SharePoint. It would be fine for those of you using that repository, but not for everybody else. So I'm just going to show you through DocShifter Express. But everything I show you here can, of course, be used in your own repository type as well. Just your starting point and end point will be a sender module and a release module for that specific repository type. So what I'll do to begin with is I'm going to show you this PDF validation option. And what I'll do is I'll show you it running first. So I'm just going to log in here with an account. This is me logged in, another tab with a DocShifter Express account only. And I'm just going to run my PDF validation just to show you. So if I open this up, and I'm going to select files here, and I'm just going to run the file that I was opened up before in Acrobat was this file called bad266 toxicology. I really did not say that word correctly at all then. If I click process, you'll notice that processes extremely quickly. And what I get is a PDF report out of it. So what I'm going to do is I don't like showing the results in the web browser, so I'm just going to show you here in the Acrobat window as well. So I've opened up the report, which was sent back to me as DocShifter Express. It was sent to my downloads folder. And again, I'm not talking through everything here, so there may be some of you that don't know DocShifter Express, how it works. Just let us know. We can talk through that with you separately. So it's not training on everything. It's just explaining some scenarios here. But in this validation report, which is an optional module, this for validating the PDFs, it is an optional module you can have. This one kind of gives a summary of the PDF itself, some details about the PDF, how it was created, number of pages, bookmarks, etc. But then it basically has a series of checks that you enable or disable, and I'll show you that in the workflow in a moment. It runs a series of checks that basically checks absolutely everything that's required in the PDF submission validation. So if you run that submission validation in a submission validation tool, whether it's DocuBridge, whatever tool you're using, there's a number of PDF checks that will be ran at that point. So we cover all of those plus many additional checks as well. And you can enable or disable them. So you've got checks for, do you have text searchable? Do you have searchable text in the document? Does the file size exceed a specific file size limit that you've set in the configuration? Is it password protected, the document, and so on? Is it the right PDF version? Is Fast Web View enabled? So I showed you that file. Fast Web View isn't enabled, so that check has failed. It says all fonts used have been embedded. That's failed because the fonts weren't embedded. So it gives you a quick summary table at the beginning telling you all the checks that it's ran, and which ones it passed and which ones it failed, just at a high level to begin with. So I can see which ones have failed. And if I want, I can link directly from here. I say, well, okay, so I've got all used fonts have been embedded, that failed. If I click on the fail here, it will jump to that part of the report where it gives me more detail. So you typically have that table at the top saying pass or fail, and then you have some detail lower down in the report telling me, okay, that's great. Some fonts haven't been embedded, but what fonts are they? That's included in the report further down. So I can see these 4 fonts have not been embedded in there, okay? So that's how this report works. You get the summary, and then you have the detail further down, which you can link to directly from the summary table, okay? But I won't go through all these in detail because we've ran various sessions on this validation tool itself. But as I say, you can turn these off and on as you go. But this tells you what you've passed or failed on. It's a great way of seeing what's needed. So with that, I'm just going to close this down and jump back into here. And that's great that it's showing me what's wrong. So now I have at least an idea of what's wrong, and I can use whatever tools necessary to resolve the issues. But that's only showing you what's actually done, what's actually wrong to begin with. What I'll show you next are the scenarios where we're going to actually attempt to reprocess the file, the PDF, to actually attempt to fix things. Now, either that can be a full hi-fi workflow, and I will show you very quickly what I mean. If I show you the validation workflow, this was a very simple workflow that can, again, go through be included in any workflow that you have already. So you could simply add a step in the workflow. If you have the PDF validator, it's just another step in the workflow to QC your PDF. So you could generate a PDF for use in a submission, and after it's generated, automatically run a QC check to give you a report that tells you that these are all the things that it's checked are correct in the PDF file itself. So you've got that checklist automatically created for you. So that's all that was. And all I do in that module, all I'm doing is selecting which checks I do and don't want to include. So we've got various checks that you can include related to some annotations, digital signatures, watermarks, etc. Some bookmarking issues, how many levels of bookmarks are you expecting, how many should be open, various checks around bookmarks, various checks around just some common things as well. You got some document properties that you can set, whether embedded fonts, etc. You got some hyperlink checks that can be ran, initial view checks that can be ran, and then some issues on page kind of things, page sizes, etc. as well. So they're kind of broken up into different groups of checks. You don't have to run everything. You can decide which ones you do and don't want to run, like anything else in DocShifter. So that's kind of what you do to actually check for issues in the first place. Just add that step in potentially. To actually fix, you can simply do it one of a couple of ways. You can either send it through a workflow that does the whole of the hi-fi step, for example, and you could run, for example, a whole hi-fi that basically has parameters set to fix different things that it's found in the document. So if you look at that report that it was created, and if I open that up again, a lot of these things, for example, the fast web view, you know that the fast web view is an option in hi-fi. You can set that in the hi-fi. You can embed fonts in the hi-fi module. You can set the page layout options in hi-fi. So all of these issues that are identified, simply by sending a PDF file through a hi-fi workflow, you can fix many of the issues that have been identified without doing anything else. You're basically re-rendering the PDF, which actually fixes it, which a lot of people, a lot of customers of ours are still using other tools once they've got the PDF to actually, they're using other tools and plugins to fix PDFs. They could simply send those to fix many issues directly through DocShifter. Again, simply send it through a hi-fi workflow. So that's what I'll do to begin with and show you how I can simply come back here, go to my fix, convert to using the hi-fi workflow, select that same file again. So if I open up my bad PDF, simply process that file, is gone through, is completed already, and I've got my fixed PDF up already. So with that, if I just quickly open that file up, so I've now got this was my original file. So I had various issues, incorrect color hyperlinks, too many levels of bookmarks shown, various settings that I showed you to begin with. This is, excuse me, this is my fixed version, the version that I've sent through hi-fi to fix many of the issues already. So you notice my hyperlinks are now all blue. So it's changed the color. It's edited the link. So if I show here, these are all set to inherit zoom. That's the case for all of these. It's removed my link to an external website. You'll notice it's closed up the bookmarks. I told it I just wanted the level 1 bookmarks shown. Everything else is just closed up. And all of these are also correct now as well. So these are all set to inherit zoom as they should be. On top of that, you've got, if I go back to my properties, in here, I've cleaned out my properties here. It's optimized for fast web view. It's now PDF version 1.7. If I go to my fonts, the fonts have now been embedded correctly as I've set, and the initial view settings are now set to default, for example, as well. So just showing you how, again, it sounds like I'm stating the obvious, but a lot of customers we're finding are simply not using DocShifter to reprocess PDF files. They think once they have a PDF file, they have to then fix it using plugins or Acrobat to resolve the issues. You can simply send PDF files through DocShifter with any of the hi-fi settings that you're probably familiar with already, that you're using when you generate PDFs in the first place with DocShifter, but it's fixing then your PDF file. As I say, PDF is there's huge quantities of PDF that will be used as source files as well. So no difference at all. So that's kind of one of the things I wanted to kind of highlight. As I say, just think about using DocShifter to reprocess files. The other thing you can do as well is do something a little bit more selective. So rather than doing everything, which this was doing here, was fixing everything that hi-fi could do, you could use it if you just have a PDF file. And if all I wanted to do, for example, was to optimize the PDF. So what I did with this workflow, if I showed you the first one, if I come back, show you my convert, this one basically had two steps. It had a hi-fi module, which basically had all of my hi-fi settings made. And I actually ran the PDF optimization separately to optimize the PDF separately from here. So I could be a little bit more granular about what I do. What if I just want to, you can have a workflow that's doing nothing but, for example, optimizing the PDF. So if the only thing you found is that the setting, the optimize for fast web view isn't set, you don't necessarily want to run the document through an entire hi-fi workflow because it's lengthier, it's doing a lot more, it takes a little bit longer, obviously, to process. It's quick, but it can be quicker if you just simply run an optimize option. You just run the optimize to just run specific optimization checks. And anybody who has hi-fi has the PDF optimization module separately as well. So in here, the only options I've set or that I want to keep the PDF version of the original, the input file. And I'm just saying I want to optimize for fast web view. That's all I'm enabling, as well as the option to linearize, because typically to actually optimize for fast web view, you typically also need to linearize the file. Those are the only options that I've set in that workflow. So it's a much cleaner workflow, and it's only going to do what you want to do, just be, optimizing for fast web view without everything else that Hi-Fi does. So that way you can then make that available to people as well. So you could say, okay, let's through DocShifter Express, for example, or some other way, and say, well, if you want to just optimize your PDF, you can simply select a workflow that just does that. If I open that bad file again, process it, you'll see it happen. It kind of returned almost instantly because it's very quick. It's not doing anything other than the optimizing. And you'll notice it's not done everything else. So it's not changed my hyperlinks. It's not changed the bookmarks. Everything else is exactly as it was in that original bad PDF that I showed you. So it's not attempted to do anything. The only thing it did do was, if I go to my properties, it's optimized here for fast web view. It's now optimized. It's not changed the PDF version. It's not cleaned any of this up. As I say, you can target very specific capabilities just by using one of the modules that's a little bit more specific, like that optimize as well. Okay, so the idea with that is that you just have, this is where something like DocShifter Express can be very useful. Having workflows set up to perform very specific tasks can be helpful, because that's typically something where you go and you say, okay, I just want to send this ad hoc document. I want to send that to optimize to fix this one problem. That's perfectly what DocShifter Express was developed for. So it can be great for that, but it can, of course, be a part of an automated process too, as part of your automated flows from your document management system too. The next scenario I maybe wanted to show you was kind of how you could, do a little bit more to the PDF. So you may have some of the problems with PDFs might be a little bit more specific. There may be that your file has no bookmarks, for example. You had a PDF, and for whatever reason, I don't know why that closed like that, it didn't have any bookmarks to begin with. So depending on the way it was created, you have this PDF file, and the biggest problem with this PDF file is that it's not bookmarked. So even though I've got text in it that's selectable, the tool that was used to create it simply didn't bookmark anything. And on top of that, I also have some maybe guidance text that was left from the template itself, and that should have really been deleted and wasn't. So this is now a PDF file. I don't have access to the original source. So I can build rules with the bookmarker to define when exactly I want to bookmark things. What style should be used to pull out a bookmark? Should be a level 1 heading. What should be a level 2 heading? So I can set those rules in a workflow. So if I come over here and I go to my workflows and I show you my bookmarker here. So if I go to my bookmarker and I'll show you, as I say, there is a PDF bookmarker. Again, this is part of our PDF instruments package that allows you to do more, basically do a little bit more with the bookmarking. So beyond what you can do with Hi-Fi to automatically bookmark from files, this is in addition to that. This is if you've got a PDF file already and there aren't any bookmarks in it, how then can you create it? Because there's no styles or anything there. Hi-Fi doesn't do that. But separately, the PDF bookmarker can look through your PDF file and identify text that should be a bookmark. And you can define as many different rules as you like to say, okay, this text that is a specific font, a specific size, is bold or italic, that should be a level 1. This should be a level 1. This should be a level 2. This should be a level 3, for example. So I've kind of created just 4 simple levels in this rule, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I separate the rules with a semicolon in this case. And I'm basically creating a rule that's looking for just the font size and the styling. You can, though, in there also do some actual text searching. So you're actually looking for certain strings as well. But in this case, I'm just doing font size and styling. So if I come down, I'm saying I'm just going to skip, not going to show all the options, but show you here that I want to create the first level. I want to be all uppercase. The bookmark should be all uppercase. The second, third, and fourth level should be title case. They all should be at inherit zoom, the bookmarks that are created. The text that I'm searching for I'm looking for, in the first rule, I'm looking for Arial text that's font size 20 and is any input case. It doesn't have to be all uppercase, lowercase. It can be any text. So you're not just looking for it in a specific case. As long as it's 20 and Arial, that's fine. You can restrict it and say only bookmark it if it's all uppercase, for example, if you wanted. So any case, but it should be bold. So it's any case, but the text should be bold. And there we go. So, and then the same thing for the second level, third level. They're all separated here by these comments. So the second level is for level 2 bookmarks. I then will be looking for the output should be in title case, but I'm looking then for Times New Roman text. That's font size 14. And I can set a little bit of a buffer here. So just in case the font in the PDF isn't exactly font size 14, it might be 13.95 because it was OCR'd. So the font sizes can adjust sometimes a little bit, or it was scaled. Is bold, and it again can be any input case as well. So, and then the same for any other level. So you can build these rules in this bookmarker. And then I'm doing some content detection to actually remove some guidance text. So I can set up some rules to kind of set some search strings to remove some guidance text as well. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go through that because I only have 7 minutes left. But ultimately, I can configure this to kind of remove through a configuration file. This will be the last XML config file that will be removed in the next release. But I can remove empty pages or any text kind of strings and things that are defined in this XML file. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some bookmarks from my PDF automatically, and I'm going to create some, remove some sections of the document automatically. And then I'm going to use my NLP module, just so you're aware, for those of you that aren't, you can do some name manipulation. So the output name can have a prefix or a suffix added to it as well. This NLP module allows you to kind of manipulate the output file name a little bit as well. So in here, I'm saying I want to prefix or suffix the name with dash bookmarked at the end. So the output file name will be different from the input, with this dash bookmarked kind of added on at the end as well. So the NLP module, if you haven't seen it, does a little bit more than it's used to. If you've looked at the release notes, it can do quite a bit more than just nothing as it used to be. So with that, I'm going to kind of take that sample file that I showed you. I'm going to run this bookmarker and clean PDF. I'm going to select that file. So this was the bookmark file here. Process, pending. It's doing the 2 steps, and I've now got my results. So again, I will go to my processed files, just open this resulting file up. I don't know why this is, I opened on my other screen, apologies. So in here, I had my original file, and this one had these guidance text and no bookmarks. But then look at the output. It's removed all occurrences of the guidance text that I've told it to. So it's cleaned out the guidance text. It could have cleaned out empty pages and various things as well. So it's done all of that. It can kind of skip headers and footers if you want. But most importantly, it's also added these bookmarks at the side. So rather than having to manually kind of add these bookmarks or use a plugin, a separate process to do that, it's something a lot easier to do it automatically. Okay. So this could have been a part of just an extension of your existing workflows, or you could have separate workflows that just do this to fix that PDF file, to add the bookmarks automatically to PDFs that don't have any. Even if the PDF has some bookmarks already, it can add to the existing ones. And then you can tell it whether to preserve your original bookmarks and simply add the additional ones, or whether you want to kind of remove those original ones and just add those based on the rules that you've set up as well. So that was one other scenario I wanted to talk about. Similar thing with your hyperlinks. So with hyperlinks, if I quickly show you my hyperlink document. So I have a document that is PDF, and so I don't have access to the source. I'm not creating hyperlinks there, but I do have various narrative text that often has a lot of kind of references to these tables and figures throughout, but they weren't actually created as links. So there's no link here from this table 1 to table 1 or figure 1 that might appear further down in the document down here. There's no links created. So you can use the hyperlinker to automatically add those links in as well. So I'll quickly show you here in the workflow. If I come back to my workflows, just show this quickly, my hyperlinker. And this is just for certain types of links. It's not going to solve all of your hyperlinking problems, but just for certain types of links, this can be extremely useful and extremely quick. So in here, I'm basically defining some rules for what is the text that I'm looking for that I want to be a hyperlink. And you can set up very detailed and powerful kind of search criteria for based on the font, the styling, the styles of text. If it's a Word document, if it's PDF, you just set up based on the font and styling options set to it. But you can also kind of look based on search strings as well, searching for very specific kind of sections of text as well. In this case, I'm just looking for tables, text with tables and figures, the word table and certain characters and figure and certain characters. And I want to convert that into links to, and it will actually then go and search for the target as well based on the input search string as well. So again, these can be configured to automate some types of links, of hyperlinks. So if I run that through, if I take that that source PDF that I showed you, if I just run that through my hyperlinker, and I told it, I kind of prompted a few options that just allow me to change some of the options in the workflow. I'm not going to change anything here in this case. It's going to select this, and I'm going to select my hyperlinker, the PDF hyperlinker document, run that through. And again, despite it being a PDF already, it's automatically gone through and created those links very quickly for me. Open that up, and you could see it's automatically added a number of links, not just here, but throughout the document, through the narrative text, kind of pointing to the relevant sections in the document. So as I say, all of these are active links, considerably quicker than having to do them one by one or even use batch tools, because this could be a part of an automated workflow and part of a wider workflow that you have as well. Very good. The last one I want to show you, bearing in mind I've got a minute left, which is me always, I'm always running low on time, just as a combination, maybe where I combine a few different things together. I kind of combine the ability to not only kind of create a fixed PDF, but I also wanted to fix the PDF. I wanted to add a table of content as well, because that's something else that you should have in some cases, and maybe fix the guidance text altogether. So I'm kind of having a workflow that's combining some of those individual checks that I just showed you, doing it all in one. So in this case, the workflow is going to do a hi-fi step to kind of clean the PDF up and kind of fix a lot of the PDF elements. It's going to add a table of content if one is necessary, if it's needed. For those of you that haven't seen the TOC generator, it allows you to add a table of content at the beginning or the end of a document. And you can set rules for when it should or shouldn't actually occur. I'm going to remove the guidance text and the empty pages again, and then I'm going to make sure that the whole results are compliant again at the end. So with that, I'm just going to go through as a final step, just run that, select that same file that I showed you at the beginning, the bad PDF, process it. It's going to go through those multiple steps, transform, and you see it's already done. So again, if I open this up, so I've now got the PDF file that I showed you right at the beginning, but because I've said now I want it to include more elements, including a TOC if one is needed. So I basically set a rule that said if the document is over 5 pages long, which is the case, I believe, in the US or Canada, one of them is 5, one of them is 10 pages. So anything over 5 pages, a TOC is expected, so add one if it didn't exist already. So it's added the TOC for me, and you can define the style of this in the TOC generator. It's done all the other things that it did before. So in terms of adding, making sure my bookmarks and everything are correct, all of this, we saw that already. Those have all been done. But it's added the TOC. It's removed the guidance text as well, which the first one didn't do. So it's removed the guidance text, it's added the TOC, and it's performed all of the other checks and fixes as well, all in one go. Okay. So those were the scenarios I wanted to talk through with you. I'm just going to come back here very briefly and just explain that, as I say, don't exclude PDFs from your workflows and think that everything you're doing is about creating the PDF in the first place. That is a large part of it, of course, but it can save a huge amount of time, DocShifter, as well, if you use it more and more to fix your PDF files automatically as well. Rather than using plugins and Acrobat itself to do that, let DocShifter do the hard work for you and try to either incorporate it into existing workflows as a step or create separate workflows and use DocShifter Express to allow people to send files to perform very specific tasks as well. So just with that, some final thoughts. Obviously, try to automate things as much as you can. It just streamlines the process, removes the manual effort involved, and you can make sure that you don't miss specific documents. If you automate it, you can make sure every single PDF goes through that process and you don't miss anything, which obviously makes it a lot quicker, reduces your risk because you're ensuring that it all takes place, and really leverages and maximizes your return on investment in DocShifter, that you're not just using it for that one specific task. We're finding a lot of companies are really scratching the surface of what DocShifter can do because it's been configured for very specific use cases at the beginning. And simply by extending its use, creating additional workflows, you can kind of maximize that investment considerably. Hopefully, while that slide came up, there should have been a poll question, just some final questions just about how the session went. We are going to run additional sessions in the future. So sort of like this, where we're going to kind of highlight how things can be done, additional things you might be able to do that you weren't aware of. We're going to look at option modules next in one of the next sessions, I believe, because option modules are something that's massively underused. It kind of adds a lot of logic into the workflows as well. But again, if anybody has any specific topics they would like to cover that you know of, that you're aware that we can do, but you're not sure how they're done, please just let us know as well, and we can hopefully include one of those sessions in the future. But again, apologies. I know I've overran already by a few minutes. So if there were any questions, I apologize. I will reply to them kind of separately if there were any sent through. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the day, and hopefully see you on one of the other webinars or conferences that are coming up that I mentioned earlier on. So thanks, everybody, and speak to you soon. Thank you.